if you're ready to tune your frequency, let's dive in. I have this triple R method that I want to share with you. So we will start with that. So triple R, the first is, and that's the whole idea with this workshop: render, release, receive. So the first R is render, right? And before we dive into that, let me just share why I'm handing you this in the first place, okay? Because I spent way too many years on like a motivational merry-go-round, the vision boards, the affirmation post-it notes, like wallpaper, color-coded to-do lists, all the journals, and hustle plans really is what it boils down to. Yet, during those times when I was trying to do all of those things, the bank account, relationships, even my blood work, it just kind of kept arguing with the reality, right? That was much different than the desired outcome. So when I finally realized, is that change sticks only when three things happen in order, okay? When you render a vision that your nervous system can recognize and feel safe with, or at least safer as you grow, because that's really important. When you release the grip of trying to control it all, because that control, it strangles the possibility, right? And it closes off the flow. All the trying to figure out how, all the trying to micromanage processes and figure out the steps yourself, cuts off the flow. And then you receive in a state relaxed enough to actually pick up on the opportunities zooming past. Money, health, great relationships, love, all those things. And all of those things love a person, a woman, or a man who's relaxed. Those things love a relaxed woman. So that tidy sequence became the triple R method, okay? It's kind of like a Goldilocks just right sort of thing for ADHD brains that are craving structure and freedom, okay? So my intention today is simple. I want you to leave with a portable ritual or process that tunes every important area of your life, right? Health, wealth, relationships, the three biggies for everybody, without ruining your adrenals or demanding that you take a sabbatical, right? Where you burn out. So if you walk away knowing how to set clear frequency, tap out the clingy energy, and open the doors to the good stuff so that it can stroll in, I'm going to consider this one wildly successful hour, okay? And your future self will want to high five us both, all right? So let's dive into triple R here. R, render, right? That's where we're starting. And Camille, are there any slides that we need to back up through? Anything important that people missed? If there is, just feel free to go back through the earlier slides. And if not, then don't worry about it. It's pretty much just what I'm talking about. All right, first R is render. So think of this like your like mental camera. So if you were going from like 35 millimeter to HD, okay? Clarity kind of freaks some people out, especially my fellow ADHD entrepreneurs, because we love to like collect ideas, right? It's like we have all of these ideas and we collect them like my kids used to collect Pokemon cards, and we don't actually want to choose the one thing. But this isn't about perfect wording, okay? This is about like honest frequency, okay? Translation is like, as we go through this, like there's no grammar police, there's no like aesthetic police to this. It's just vibes that make you feel good, that kind of make you feel like your cells are dancing. That's what we're looking for, okay? So think of it this way. Clarity without action is like, it's like classy daydreaming, okay? So also think of it this way, because clarity with frantic action, like I see from so many people, that becomes like the whole like not sleeping enough, drinking a ton of espresso and trying to crank out a project on a tight deadline, that kind of thing. So what we're aiming for right now is clarity plus calm, okay? So, and we're going to look at everything through what I call the HWR lens. That's health, wealth, and relationships. Okay, those are the things that matter the most to pretty much every single person on the planet. All right, so think of health as the hardware upgrade for your body and your brain. Okay, and then think of wealth as the software patch for money, for mission, for work you love. All right. And then relationships. That's like the Wi-Fi signal that keeps everything connected, because nobody wants to see like buffering or the like no signal dinosaur on the screen, or be reminded of the sound that AOL used to make when I was trying desperately to connect. And I totally am dating myself there, but I do remember it and it was awful. So nobody wants that in their marriage or with their kids or with their team or their coworkers or their neighbors or their siblings, friends, you name it. Okay, so we're going to look at everything we talk about today through the lens of these three most important areas of your life. So let's start about talking about how we affirm things, because I have a love-hate relationship with affirmations and the gap that they tend to create instead of unifying us with our desired outcomes, right? So let's talk about why questions beat declarations like 9 times out of 10, if not more, okay? Affirmations sound great in theory, right? Probably most people I know at one point have had a deck of affirmation cards or some kind of list of affirmations or things that you read in the mirror in the morning or something like that. But if your statement is wildly out of sync with your lived reality, I know a lot of people kind of chanting the whole I am a millionaire kind of thing. If you're not actually a millionaire, then your brain's little fact checker is going to be throwing up a flag, incongruence. Right? And that comes right from your amygdala and your prefrontal cortex, okay? That mismatch creates cognitive dissonance. You're saying X, but your bank app, well, that says something else. And then your nervous system actually interprets that as a threat, okay? The result there is that all you hear is your inner critic, and even the proof that you're checking in with screaming, yeah, sure, yeah, right, okay, yeah, you're a millionaire. And again, usually we're also confirming with our fears and not our faith in those instances. So you've just activated resistance instead of resonance, okay? So what we're going to talk a lot about, these subconscious cues, subconscious questions, okay? These things flip the script so that you can see things differently. So what I want to touch upon briefly is them, because they're an important part of getting your brain and your body on board with your goals, okay? So why do subconscious questions work so well? Questions are what the brain responds to, okay? Questions trigger interrogative self-talk, which research shows boosts intrinsic motivation and problem solving, which is huge. They wake up a part of our brain known as the RAS, the Reticular Activating System. And it's kind of like your inner Google, the RAS, okay? It sifts for matches like without the ego battle when it kind of gets activated. So we'll talk more about and kind of come back to in some different ways the RAS as we move along. Curiosity is rewarding. We ask a question, it piques curiosity, right? And it's rewarding. So a good question gives us this little dopamine hit, and it pulls that prefrontal cortex online, okay? For planning, for pattern spotting, instead of kicking up like defensive counter arguments inside of your head. We all kind of go through that whole like internal battle of what's happening inside of our head. All right. So the bottom line here with this is that a question invites your brain to gather proof, okay? A bold statement like an affirmation that so many of us are familiar with, these I am statements, often invite the brain to argue. Okay, so let's look at some examples through the whole like HWR scenario and that lens. All right, the old affirmation, I am a millionaire, might be turned into a subconscious question like, why is it getting easier every month to enroll dream clients into 10K packages? Or something similar like that. This why is it? So now as you ask that question, instead of just stating the affirmation, the RAS starts highlighting things. Maybe it's an intro or a lead or a program feature or a pricing tweak or whatever is actually going to help you align with that outcome, maybe even the time you could free up, instead of arguing with you about it. Or if you look at a health affirmation, something like, I sleep like a baby. The question that might be more helpful might be something along the lines of, what would it take for my body to click into deep, steady sleep by 10 p.m.? And then you can kind of watch your brain like surface these different things that are helpful, like, I should dim the lights now, or maybe I should take some magnesium, or, you start to work on that late night screen habit that you didn't notice until you started to ask yourself the question, okay? These questions work around the clock too. It's beautiful. If you actually have these kind of programmed into the vision that you're using each day, the one time that you say it in the morning or listen to it or what have you, your brain's going to work around the clock looking for those answers to show you. So something like the affirmation of, my marriage, my relationship, my partnership is amazing. Maybe something like a question of, why is it so natural for us to laugh and reconnect each night, would be more helpful for actually getting that result. Suddenly, as you ask a question like that, sitter recommendations or desire and energy to follow through on taking a walk together or going out on a date night, maybe a playful idea to text each other pops to the center of your awareness so much easier because your brain's looking for those answers. So just think of those subconscious cues as like Socratic coaching for your own brain. Okay, they remove that courtroom drama, the objections, and they send your inner self researcher on this like scavenger hunt for alignment, resonance. Okay, so a week or so ago in the school community, which I hope you all are members of, and if you're not, I'm going to give you all the information you need to join. It's a free community and it is jam-packed with all sorts of value and great resources. I put up this post and I asked, you to fast forward to the end of the year, which is only like 5 months, 4.5 months away, and to reflect and just kind of share a sentence, which is going to look more like an affirmation. And a few of the responses from the community came through, and I want to kind of go through a few of them, and I want to offer subconscious questions for those affirmations. So they're great affirmations, and they're worthy of being focused on, and they're worthy of the shifts that these different amazing women who left them in the community on the post want. So let's see. The first one here from Jessica Dumont. She said, "I wake up feeling healthy." So some questions that you could ask yourself if what you want is to wake up feeling healthy would be some things like, why is my body waking up feeling strong, balanced, and well-nourished each morning? Or what would it take for tomorrow's wake up to feel deeply healthy from the inside out? Or maybe even, why is it so natural for me to make evening choices that deliver a healthy morning? Since our nights do set us up for our mornings. And then Dawn Gordon commented on it also, and she said, I wake up feeling refreshed and revitalized. Everybody seems to want to wake up feeling a certain way. So there's some other questions that we could ask here, like, why is it getting easier every night to slip into sleep that leaves me refreshed and revitalized? Or how did I become someone who wakes up clear, hydrated, and ready to roll? There's a lot of different ways that we can put this. The whys, the hows, or the whats. What would it take for simple evening habits to give me spring in my step or energy at sunrise or whatever it is that you want? So there's ways to reframe that so that it's going to bring you those answers. And someone else had commented relationship-wise that they found the love of their life. That was their contribution. And if that's the kind of thing that you're looking for love and relationships and things, some great questions that you could ask there would be things like, why am I so naturally magnetic to a secure, loving partner who cherishes me? Or what would it take for me to notice and nurture the relationship that truly aligns with my values? Those kind of things can be really helpful for things like that. And then Sarah Cook commented, money flows when I keep focused on growing the business and stay on brand. So for something like this, you might ask a question like, why does staying on brand make it effortless for ideal buyers to say yes every week? Or what would it take for my focus to lock onto the needle movers that grow revenue? Those kind of things can be really helpful. All right, let me just pop into the chat and see if everybody's kind of following along with me. Is this making sense to everybody? Is this helpful, reframing these things and seeing them in a different way? Thanks, Karen. All right. Yeah, absolutely, Wendy. What was the second relationship question? I don't really remember. But she was saying she found the love of her life. So, I was just basically saying that, You could say like, how did I become the person who attracts and keeps healthy reciprocal love, or any of those kind of things. There'll be a replay. I don't remember exactly what I just spouted out. I'm sorry. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of ask the whys, the whats, the hows, or even, yeah, there's a lot of those questions that can come through for that. And this is part of what I'm going to be doing in the VIP hour afterwards, is helping people really custom and fine tune these things. So, all right, so we went through what Sarah had, and then, you know, the thing with the subconscious questions is that you want to keep them believable and specific. Okay, time frame, behavior, audience. Okay, vague questions are going to fetch, what do you think? Vague results, right? Precise questions are going to turn that RAS that we talked about, that reticular activating system, into like a truffle pig sniffing out opportunities. Okay, there's a huge difference there. So yes, you can keep a few classic affirmations that you genuinely believe for yourself. But for the stretchy goals, the ones that like trigger the internal arguments or the self-doubt or that like inner eye roll, let subconscious questions lead, okay? They're gonna harmonize your nervous system, engage your executive brain, and make your environment start whispering and reflecting solutions back to you, okay? All right, so let's kind of, let's try a little exercise here. If you kind of grab a notebook, your notes app, old receipt, whatever's laying around and handy, okay? What we're gonna do is we're just going to take, where are we now? It's like 12:30. I want to make sure we have plenty of time for everything. We're really just gonna take like 30 seconds or so for each one of these. And I'm gonna ask a question, and here's the first one. You know, what simple shift would make your body feel vibrant 3 months from now? And you can write it down, not even in question form at first if you want, and we can always turn it into a question if you have trouble with it. But the idea there is just kind of spend the next 30 seconds and write down something, whether it's in question form or affirmation form, that would make your body feel vibrant 3 months from now. And if you want to share those things, you can. You can keep them to yourself too, either way. And then we'll move in to the next one. So the next one, that was health-based. Let's move into something wealth or work or business-based, okay? And that's going to be, what income pop or business win would make you grin and say, yeah, that's me? Like what would be a big, awesome business win for you, or income change over the next 3 months? Take 30 seconds and scribe on that a bit. All right. And then let's go to one more. The last one we're going to look at is relationship-based. So what upgrade in connection, partner, family, team, whatever, would light you up daily? Take 30 seconds or so and write on that. Should really have some background music. All right. You guys can always come back to this. You can give it whatever time you like to give it, but it really doesn't take very long. That's kind of the point here, to get clarity that really is going to serve you. So if anybody wants to share them, or if anybody needs help reframing something, you can drop it in the chat and see what I can do here for you. But all right, the idea here is, a couple people actually just messaged me just directly, but somebody shared that they're looking for a 20K launch on the private message here. Awesome. I got your back. And yeah, if any of you want to share, the idea is that this is rendering, right? This is the first R, okay? And here's why this tiny little burst that we just created in the last couple of minutes matters, okay? The moment that you wrote or typed those words, the RAS leaned in and said, okay, we're prioritizing that now. And from here on out, it's going to scan things, whether it's a podcast you're listening to, a TikTok video, a passing conversation, all those different things for evidence that matches your vision, your desire, your goal, okay? It's like an obsessively loyal yellow lab, like my Mowgli. You just kind of throw the stick of whatever it is you want, that 20K launch, some spontaneous date nights, whatever, and it's going to keep fetching those things that line up with that for you, okay? Until you kind of pat it on its head and say, yeah, you did that. Let's see. Karen's asking to go back a slide. I think the last slide had all the questions on it. Camille, if you can just back up one slide and stick it there for a second. Feel free to like take a screenshot or whatever, and the replay will be up later on today. So how does that 90-second scribble you just did answering those questions beat like a color-coded spreadsheet or whatever that can sometimes take you hours to put together? What it is it's neuroscience with like a little dash of quantum glitter, right? You set a clear frequency and then 3 big systems light up, okay? There's the RAS that we already talked about, okay? That's deciding what gets to break through the noise, okay? You give it that precise question. Why is it getting easier to enroll 3 pay in full clients this month? And it starts highlighting, matching people, ideas, opportunities, like neon arrows, okay? All of a sudden you see like a DM that you'd usually ignore, or a podcast pitch or a speaking gig, and then it feels obvious, right? Friend of a friend intro. It's not magic. It's selective attention doing its job. Let me go back to the prefrontal cortex also lighting up. That's kind of like, it's like a combination of like your GPS system and an editor, okay? This is your executive brain, focus, planning, impulse control. When you render a specific vision, the PFC, the prefrontal cortex, sets the destination, and then it suppresses distractions that don't match it, okay? We need that. And that boosts working memory and gets you kind of, so it's like that one next step, right, that we're always kind of looking for, stays on the front burner instead of getting buried under like all those little shiny objects and those other ideas that start popping through, okay? So that translates into like less hopping around on the tabs on the computer, more traction in what you're actually getting done. And then dopamine, right? Dopamine drip equals kind of tiny rewards, and that can add into big momentum, okay? Each little like micro match your brain notices triggers a little bit of dopamine. That reward signal says, do more of this, and it trains your brain to keep scanning for that next like breadcrumb, okay? And it's reinforcement learning for grown-ups, okay? It's the same kind of stuff that we would like do with our little kids, and we need it too. So it adds up. Small wins compound into consistent action without having to have that like white knuckle willpower, okay? We don't have to push our way through to all of these things that we are working towards in our life, our business, our relationships, okay? So layer on to that the body's like all clear system from your vagus nerve, all right? The vagus nerve is your body's like all clear line, right? It's the main highway of the parasympathetic system, which sends safety signals from the body to the brain, okay? When our vagal tone is high, our heart rate variability rises, our cortisol drops, our digestion and our social engagement switch on. And then like the prefrontal cortex that we talked about, the RAS that we talked about, can actually do their job, okay? So your focus widens and the opportunities can pop up, okay? So this kind of quick release tapping that we're gonna do soon nudges this circuit, okay, via skin receptors and like the slower exhales that kind of come from doing this, so that your nervous system feels safe enough. I always say kind of safe enough, because if we're looking to feel completely safe in whatever we're moving towards, we're likely to never get there. We just need to feel safe enough to take the next step, okay? Safe enough to stop that kind of like firefighting and emergency management and start receiving, okay? A safer feeling body, a clearer mind, better results, okay? So let's tour that chemistry for just a minute, and then we'll slide into doing the tapping, okay?